Tukuy pachapi kawsaq hatun taytakuna, hatun mamakuna. Tukuy pacha k'ancharichiq hatun taytakuna, hatun mamakuna. Tukuy pachakuna kuyuchiq kallpakuna. Kichaywichis kichasqa kachun kay rimanakuy, kay tupay, kay t'inkuy, kunan kay tutapi. Qankuna k'anchaq taytakuna, hatun kallpayuq taytakuna, apu inti, apu pachamama, apu kallpamama, tawantin suyuntinpi, kichayuychis kichasqa.
What inspires me is community more than anything, the people that I meet along the way. My name is Danielle Coronado, or Danny Coronado, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I moved to Kansas City back in 2011 to go to UMKC for art and art education, and I minored in mathematics too. And then I went back there actually for my master's degree recently in studio art.
Dani es actualmente profesora de arte en el Metropolitan Community College, Blue River, en Independence, Missouri.
There's nothing like, helping a young person to understand or see the world a little differently. And I think art's a great way to do that. Usually they use 3 colors. So they have black, red, and then it kind of varies between blue or green in a lot of them. I think that's more of a... You also have a lot of masks like this, but still weaving in textiles. A lot of cedar with sword that just covers. That's the gallery, what you want to start with. What's the first thing you're going to see? Yeah. So that's more like South America, and we're moving north, right?
En un mundo lleno de diferencias, el arte se convierte en un idioma universal.
I always was creative, and I loved to paint, and I loved colors. But my dad really got me into the arts. He would sit on the back deck with me and we would draw in a sketchbook. I still have some of those drawings somewhere. He would just say lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and he would draw the lion and I would write lion and all of that. So it was just kind of part of our everyday and part of our hanging out.
Los padres de Dani provienen de diferentes partes del mundo. Su padre es peruano y su madre es estadounidense, de ascendencia europea.
Both really ingrained in us, their ethnicities, the Irish, the German, the Peruvian. And I've always just felt mixed and in a good way. Though there were struggles, it was always a good thing.
Y dentro de esa mezcla late una sangre fuerte, la sangre inca.
And I knew that we, through my grandmother, have Incan blood, but I didn't know exactly what that meant outside of history classes. And so I started reading through the book, and I knew about the corn, but I didn't know how important it was to Peruvian society.
Esto llamó la atención de Dani y empezó a investigar más de su cultura. Un día descubrió una historia que encendió la llama del vínculo entre ella y sus antepasados incas.
Women, when they had their first menstrual cycle, they would be locked away with nothing to eat for the week except for raw corn. It found something in me. It really drew me into this world of corn. So I started painting corn, and corn after corn after corn. I was just making these little paintings of corn. but also giving them some kind of personality, right? I have a corn that's a little bit more ionic, a corn that's a little bit more phallic, a corn that stands alone, maybe just one kernel, or one that's like half eaten. All these different varieties of corn too. We have Indian corn, we have corn of Mexico, we have corn of Ecuador, we have corn all over the place in the Americas, and I just was on a journey of corn. But I think where it really hit home was I started making plaster casts using the chicha morada, purple corn, fermented or molded to create this plaster, and that caused my plaster blocks to mold and creating this imprint of this Incan deity Viracocha.
A pesar de todo su conocimiento académico, Dani sigue buscando sabiduría en sus familiares y abuelos.
Talking to my noni, my grandmother, the other day, you just have to listen to each other, because we have these ideas that we don't talk politics, we don't talk religion. Why? Why do we have those ideas? That's not going to cause any progress. Life is reflection and life is growth, and we should continue to ask people questions so that we can build our knowledge and build our empathy and have conversations around politics and religion and every hard topic that's on the table.
En un mundo donde las redes sociales mueven todo y las nuevas tecnologías nos prometen un mejor futuro, donde los cambios suceden cada vez más rápido y los políticos lucran con nuestras vidas, el arte nos da la esperanza de un verdadero cambio, pero un cambio que empieza por dentro. Dani todavía tiene esperanza de un mejor futuro en el que la gente tiene empatía unos por otros.
I think that just asking questions, paying attention to what people are saying, paying attention to what people are doing is really important, and it's going to help us grow together rather than growing apart, as we so constantly see these days on social media. So just take a breather and ask your neighbor a question. Ask them for a drink. Ask them for some food. Bring them some food. Talk to them over the table. That's my hope.
I turned every stone to ease your pain. When I was done and you forgot it.
Adelante por este camino interminable que es la gran aventura de nuestra vida. La marcha de la humanidad es una marcha total, impulsada por el tremendo anhelo de superación que tiene el hombre, caminando hacia un futuro preciso, hacia una transformación de su vida material que le dará base para su transformación espiritual. y el hombre y la mujer se unen también y forman una nueva raza diferente, rica, que recibe todas las virtudes de la raza indígena y todas las virtudes de la raza española. Su heroísmo, su voluntad de lucha, su gran imaginación. Continúa pues adelante esa marcha, sigue adelante.
Esta es Radio Habana, Cuba.
Transmitiendo desde Cuba, territorio libre en América.
My name's Adolfo Gustavo Martinez. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Adolfo es un pintor descendiente de inmigrantes mexicanos, nacido y criado en el barrio oeste de Kansas City. Sus obras de arte incluyen pinturas y murales.
I started when I was a kid. I don't know why, I just did it. I've always drawn or painted.
Cuando Adolfo era niño, visitó por primera vez la tierra de sus antepasados. Su viaje lo llevó a la Ciudad de México, donde descubrió los murales de Diego Rivera y Siqueiros, que marcaron e inspiraron profundamente su vida.
El arte es una necesidad vital para el ser humano. Es una actividad esencial para la vida del hombre. Es perfectamente claro. El papel del artista en la sociedad, biológicamente, es un papel de nutridor. Así como el campesino proporciona alimento para el aparato digestivo, el artista proporciona alimento para el sistema nervioso.
When I was still a kid, I would read books about different cultures, and they were all in Spanish, so I learned to read Spanish. I lived on the second floor, had my own room, and my dad put a desk in for me. And I'd just stay up there and draw and paint, whatever I wanted.
Y mientras pasaban los años, Adolfo cada vez se inspiraba más en sus antepasados y sus historias.
When I went to college, I know I got a lot of books on the different tribes, and I was just interested. I always liked the artwork too, especially the Mayans.
Durante muchos años, otros artistas me habían hablado de Adolfo y sus obras de arte, que llevaba muchos años pintando y que su casa parecía un museo. Las pocas imágenes que logré encontrar de su trabajo fueron lo suficiente para darme cuenta por qué todos me hablaban de él.
As you can see, I still put a lot of Mexican history into my artwork. Well, it's where my family's from, and I just thought it was part of me.
Durante las grabaciones de este documental, Adolfo me mostró un libro que contenía todas sus obras de arte. Al ver estas imágenes se confirmaba algo que supe desde la primera vez que vi sus pinturas. Adolfo es un pintor extraordinario, un maestro del arte. Esta es la única copia de ese libro y la primera vez que se documentan algunas de estas imágenes.
Well, that's just for Dia de los Muertos. And this was a dream. I told sometimes I do my dreams. That one is just me and my sister. It's called A Game. When we were at my abuelitas, they would make us sit across from each other and gave us a ball and said, play. That's what we did, because roll the ball across to each other. I wouldn't say it's fun, but that's what we're supposed to sit there and be quiet, basically. And this one's the day the earth stood still. I put the image from that. This one's called Become at Peace. And I put a sombrero on. I liked it. I thought it was kind of fun. If I think of something, a good idea, yeah, I'll go ahead and start on it. Getting some panels ready to figure out what I'm going to do next. Not sure. It'll come to me.
Con tantas décadas de experiencia y un conocimiento íntimo de nuestra comunidad, le pregunté a Adolfo qué opina del momento que vivimos en esta sociedad.
I don't know. It really shocks me. I don't understand it. I think it's wrong. The deportation stuff. You know, these are just regular people, you know, trying to make a living. And now we're aliens, you know, like ridiculous. You know, they're just people trying to get a better life. That's how I see it. There's no difference between us and them, or me and them. Because everybody wants to have a better life.
My name is Juan Moya. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Juan Moya es un referente de la comunidad latina y por las últimas 3 décadas ha pintado un mural dedicado a la comunidad. Ubicado en unas escaleras icónicas de la ciudad, Juan, con su arte nos inspira.
I painted that originally about 35 years with some homies from the neighborhood. We got together, got some money together, our own funds, and painted it. It was riddled with gang graffiti, and we thought we'd beautify it a little bit more with some strong imagery. And fortunately, over the last 30 years, I've been able to redo it 3 times now. I grew up in the projects, and I'm very proud to be from there. The West Side, a lot of good things, some bad, but it's basically means my life. It was mostly good times outside the house. We're always playing till the sun went down. Kansas City for me is my heart and soul. I feel like it's pretty much where I've lived most of my life. And like I said, I get all my inspiration from all my surroundings, and my surroundings is Kansas City. I got into art as a kid, pretty much really poor, didn't have money for toys, little action figures that everybody was playing with. Always had scrap paper and pencil to draw. So I've always been into art and drawing as a getaway and as meditation. Didn't know that as a kid, but it was pretty satisfying for me. I feel like with my art, I try to stay on the positive light with it. I get a lot of inspiration from celebrities in the Latino community that are doing big things and that we know on the big screen, or athletes that are doing big things. I get a lot of inspiration from that kind of stuff with my art. I got into tattooing as a youth, as a very young kid. I would see, whether it's my grandfather or people that I knew in the neighborhood have little markings on them, and I noticed that they weren't going anywhere, and I realized they were permanent. As I got a little older, I got my hand on the Teen Angel magazine, which is a magazine from LA, and they had a lot of prison art in there, what we'd call it back then. And it really intrigued me. And from then, I really, really got into the thought of wanting to get a tattoo. My first tattoos were done hand-poked, and then I went from some equipment that was kind of given to me by the older guy in the neighborhood. I was always an artist, or thought I was an artist, always known to draw, and they had me tattoo them, so I experimented on them. But I knew that that is something that I wanted to gravitate towards and get better at all costs. And luckily I stuck with it, and I had no clue that it would become so mainstream. If someone asks me to let them mark you for life, it just means so much to me. So I feel like almost every customer is really special to me, just for the fact of them letting me actually tattoo them for life. Staying relative in the art scene, it's really hard, especially as you get older. You have a lot of young people coming up. I think for me, staying relative is just being true to myself, sticking with my roots, and treating everybody with the utmost respect. My 52 years of life, I would say one of the most important things is just to appreciate waking up every day and appreciating life, and knowing that someone has it worse than you, twice as worse as you. So appreciate what you have, appreciate what's in front of you, and live life for the moment, and don't try to live life for others. It looks really cool in there. Like in this day and age, to stay grounded, it's really hard. Social media definitely pushes us to try to do things or be a thing that we're not. I feel like if you just stay busy in your own life and not put too much attention to social media, and actually live in the moment, in the present, in the presence of life around you, everything will be good. My mother is from Guadalajara, and my dad is pretty much from Juarez, Mexico. I didn't know my dad growing up, but my mom has been there.
Aunque crecer en el barrio este de Kansas City fue maravilloso, también fue duro en la adolescencia. La calle era peligrosa y violenta. Habían muchas pandillas y Juan fue baleado varias veces.
Luckily, I made it through them rough times. I thank God for giving me another chance of life and being here.
La calle es tan bella como dura, al igual que la vida. Caerse y volver a levantarse es parte del proceso. Y así a Juan la vida le dio una nueva oportunidad.
A big change in my life came when I started having kids. My family means everything to me. I get to set the example for them that wasn't set for me. As a youngster, I remember my stepfather hesitant to go out because he was worried about what we called back then La Migra being out. The immigration would make sweeps to the west side. It was a really big deal, but it wasn't like it is now, where people are actually getting snatched up from work and separated from their families.
Muchos dicen que la historia se repite, pero a veces parece que también empeora.
Right now, it kind of hurts my heart to see so many families getting broken up and separated. And I get the pros and cons of everything, but the overall imagery of mothers and fathers getting stripped from their kids really hurts.
En un mundo donde sobrevive el más fuerte, es fácil ignorar y darle la espalda al más débil.